I think we're rolling. I heard the little beep. Yep, I'm gonna try to start up a YouTube channel. My name is Andrew Welch, by the way. And I've been wanting to do this for a while, and I'm not very technically inclined, so y'all bear with me. It could be interesting, but and I know you're supposed to stick to one topic when you do a YouTube page or whatnot, but you're supposed to stick with one thing you do. But that's just not who I am. I do so many different things, and so we're going to talk about hunting, fishing, golf. What else? We're going to tie some flies, jigs. Well, there's no telling what we'll wind up doing in the outdoor aspects of things. But there's something I feel like I need to talk about on this first video. I had a spinal fusion surgery, pretty major surgery, 8 years ago, 2016. And I remember leading up to that surgery, I was scared to death that my life would never be the same, that I would be pushed around in a wheelchair from that point forward. And I couldn't find any good YouTube videos that showed somebody a decade later. Of course you can find the videos of the people that, well, I'm 2 months out, I'm a year out, but you couldn't find any that were a decade later or almost. So that's pretty close to where I am. And so how did I hurt myself? First of all, that's not going to be the topic of this channel. We're never going to talk about this again. This is just an introduction video to my channel, and we're going to put this to rest now. We're not going to talk about it again. This is going to be it. How did I hurt it? I don't know. I really don't know. I woke up one day, 2015, and my back hurt just bad. And my dad said, well, go to the chiropractor. He might can fix it. So I went to a chiropractor, and he did an x-ray on it, and he said, you got bone on bone on the bottom of your back down there at L5S1. And he said, I might can help you, but it'll be temporary. So, I was in a lot of pain, so I let him help me. I can't remember exactly how many visits I had to go to that guy, but somewhere along the lines of 3 weeks or so, two visits a week, and he had me, I felt like brand new money. But he warned me, be careful, or you'll hurt it again. And that's not who I am. I'm not careful. As fast as my bass boat will go is how fast I go. And lift heavy weights. At the time, I lifted heavy weights 4 or 5 days a week, and work outside, construction. Pouring concrete. And that's another thing is you don't see in videos about spinal fusion surgery or any kind of major life-altering surgery. You don't see people that do manual labor jobs like I do, and so you don't know if they're able to continue to do that or not. And I could probably talk about this for 4 or 5 hours, but I'm trying to figure out how to summarize it. Bear with me, but so chiropractor had me straightened out, and I went back and resumed normal activities, which was not wise. But at work one day, I lifted something the wrong way, and it was just right back to square one. So my personal doctor said, you need an MRI. I said, okay. So I went and got an MRI. And before I could make it home, that doctor's office called me. Well, you need to come over here and see us when they talk about this MRI. And I'm like, oh, I might as well start digging a hole. You know, it's over with for me. You know, and that was the longest wait I've ever sat in a doctor's office. I mean, it was like, in all actuality, it was probably 20 minutes, but it seemed like 2 hours. And Doc comes in, and by that time I'm so anxious, I just said, am I going to die? And he says, no, you're not going to die, but you're going to have to go see a neurosurgeon. I said, what does that mean? He said, I don't know. I'm just telling you that this is beyond my scope of work. He sends me to a neurosurgeon. Now, I'm going to stop right there, and I'm going to take you back about 3 weeks prior to this day. I did a septic job for a guy. And that guy looked at me, and he was outside, and he was walking around on a cane. And he said, if anybody ever mentions the word fusion to you, run. So that was still fresh on my mind. And I go to the neurosurgeon, and he comes in. This old guy says, well, you need a spinal fusion. I just started to get up and leave. And he's like, where you going? And I said, I've been warned about this type of surgery, and no, I'm not interested. And he said, well, excuse me again. He said, people that live, he said, if you're going to live a normal life, you're going to have it done eventually. And I said, why? And he said, because your back's broken in the bottom. He said, I think they call it, I ain't good with big words either, spondylolisthesis or cesis, or it's a word about this long. And told me the grade of it, and I don't even remember what that was, but he said the 2 skeletal process bones in the bottom of your back are broken too. That's why it's moving around. And I said, well, you know, I explained to him about my customer and his fear of spinal fusions. He says, well, that surgery is abused sometimes, and it's used where it shouldn't be used, but for you, that's the only way to fix it. And I said, thank you, Doc. Left. And got another opinion from another neurosurgeon that wanted to cut me in the front and go in that way. Didn't like that idea. And had another opinion from a guy who was literally dropping F-bombs with my wife sitting right there next to me. Oh yeah, man, I'm gonna have you fixed up. You'll be. And I said, how long am I gonna be down for? And he said, I don't know, 9 months, but I'm gonna send you home that day. I left that doctor's appointment without much hope, but and I was kind of learning to kind of manage it a little, you know, best way that I could. I was in a lot of pain, and it didn't matter what I took. I mean, it didn't matter what kind of medication I took. I could eat lower tabs like Skittles, and it did not touch the pain. And I just kind of learned to live with it, and I still bass fished. And I was bass fishing one Thursday night, and before we blasted off, a guy introduced me to a guy and said he had back problems. So I met my surgeon in this manner. He gave me his card, and Dr. Stephen Ray in Atlanta. And I can't say enough good things about that guy. But when I went to his office, I finally got in. When I went in there, he's got pictures of Braves players on the wall. I'm a fan. And in my mind, you know, he's a fan too. And he said, no, I fixed their back. These are my clients and my patients. I fixed their back. And one of them was Fred McGriff. And I'm like, okay, this is the kind of surgeon I'm looking for. If he can get a baseball player back to playing baseball again, surely he can get me back to where I need to be. So he looked at it, and I said, just tell me you can fix it without having to do a fusion. And he said, I probably could, but you'd be right back. So I'm going to have to cut you in the back about this far and go in there. And while I'm in there, I may as well fix it. So I said, Doc, when I get it done, you will be the one to do it. But I'm gonna be stubborn about it, and I'm gonna hold off as long as I can, which was about 4 months, if my memory bank serves, and it's usually pretty good. In that 4 months, though, I went to see another chiropractor. The other chiropractor wouldn't touch me. He looked at it and said, go find a neurosurgeon and get it fixed. Well, I found another chiropractor, and I'm not going to say his name, but he started climbing on top of me and folded my legs around. He trying to turn me into a human pretzel, and I basically said, get off of me. You know, I want out of here. And this is part of the process. And I told him, I said, part of the process is me putting my clothes on and leaving, which is what I did. And I never felt better after that point. But so I guess it was late November. I couldn't get off the couch, and what I felt was nothing in my right leg. It was like I did not know if my feet were on the ground or not. It was like they were numb. And when I could feel it, it was like you'd hit your funny bone, except in your leg. And I'm sure some of you that are watching this video know exactly what I'm talking about. And it's not a good feeling. So I basically couldn't get off the couch. And my wife, she said, listen, you're going to go have it fixed. I'm tired of watching this. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Yes, you are. No, I'm not. And to make a long story short, she basically said, well, I can't watch you do this. I mean, I'm not going to get into all the details about that, but I went and had my back fixed. And Doc told me 4 weeks he would have me back on an excavator after having a spinal fusion. Full interbody cage, screws. I've done forgotten the name of all that stuff now because I hadn't thought about this in so long. But, you know, he said, stay home for 2 weeks. Don't drive. Take your medication. Don't try to be a hero and go off your pain meds after 4 days, which is exactly what I did. It was not the right thing to do. And he said, when you're able to, walk as much as you can. Walk. And I did. I mean, I walked. And as much as I could. And I was back to work in 4 weeks, you know. And I'd say it was probably about 8 weeks before I fished a bass tournament in January. Fished all day. And so, yeah, it was painful. Now, I'm not here to tell you it's not going to hurt. When you wake up from spinal fusion surgery, you're going to be looking for me. You're going to be saying, that guy told me wrong. And I'm not here to tell you that it's not going to hurt, because it's going to hurt. When you wake up from that surgery, it hurts. You have to learn to walk again. They cut the muscle that goes across your back and holds your legs together. They have to cut that to get in there to work on it. So it's going to hurt. Don't come looking for me when you wake up, like my mama did, because same doctor fixed my mama. So, but once you get through that part, they tell you a year, you know, to be fully healed up. They tell you a year. And so in my mind, I'm just trying to get to that year, because it was during that year, it was rough. It was, but I could feel the ground. It was nothing compared to prior to surgery. You know, in my mind, this is healing pain. And that's exactly turned out to be what it was. But so around a year, it started hurting pretty bad again, and I had to have it looked at again. Well, then the doctor recommended a nerve ablation. He said, we want to deaden those nerves until that fusion takes hold completely. And when that happens, you'll be fine. And the nerve ablation process was worse to me than the fusion process, because I'm not going to get into that either. But my body does not take injected steroids well, and that's exactly what they did at first. They injected steroids into the facet joints, I think, is what they're called, to see if it brought me any relief. But I didn't sleep for like 3 days, and I ate everything in the house, and I was a raging lunatic. I mean, I was just angry at everything. But it's a side effect of the medication. And so the doctor calls me and says, "How's your back feel?" Well, it brought me some relief, so they did the nerve ablation. And they say that when they do that it's kind of like deadening the nerves, and then they regenerate. But by the time they regenerate, fusion should be taking hold. So that was the last major problems I had with it. It was, now the doctor did admit to me, he said, "I probably turned you loose to do too much too fast." He said, I didn't realize exactly how active you were. And fishing bass tournaments, I mean, any of y'all that do that know, I don't have a seat in front of my boat, so you're standing up all day in rough water. And, I also fly fish, so I climb around the mountains fly fishing. And I hadn't played golf at this time. I'm not going to try to swing a golf club in my mind. So I think it was about almost 2 years later, I ran into a guy that I knew that had back surgery, and he had played golf. And he comes up, I'm on the machine, and he said, "Hey man, have you tried to play golf since your surgery?" And I said, "No, I have not." And he said, "You need to." I said, "It helped me." He said, "How do you feel?" I said, "Well, you have to go into it with the right expectations. You're never gonna feel zero back pain. I'm 46 years old. I had it done when I was 37-ish. And you're not gonna feel 100% like you did when you were 18, but it doesn't matter if your back's perfectly healthy. As we age, our back hurts, especially if you do the kind of stuff I do." And once I got that through my head, it was like, okay, I'll go try to play golf. The last thing I wanted to do was hurt it again, but probably the best thing I ever did, as far as the healing process went. And, and it just kind of, from there, but I'm not, like I said, the only reason we're having this conversation is because I seen a YouTube video yesterday of a guy talking about this. And I told my wife, I said, I remember looking for a video. He was like 2 months out of fusion. And I'm like, nobody ever talks about it. A year or two later, yeah, but a decade later, nobody ever talks about it. And I'm just letting you know that if you get the right surgeon, that's the key, I think, and you do the right things, you can live a normal life, especially if you're in the shape I was in before surgery. It was, and I have kidney stones, and those two pains are comparable, but it doesn't go away. With a kidney stone, you drink enough water, you can pass them, but with that, it wouldn't go away. And so if you're in that boat and you're thinking about getting surgery done, first thing I would do is call Dr. Stephen Ray at Atlanta Brain and Spine. That's what I would do. But don't just see one doctor. I think he was the fourth one I saw, but I knew. It was just like, he was just such a nice guy, and it was just like, I knew that that's the guy I wanted working on me. And the other ones, I'm not saying they would have done a bad job, They may have been great, but I just didn't. I'm not. This is not going to turn into a preaching channel either. But I'm pretty spiritual as a person, and I prayed about it, and that that was just the answers that I was given. And you do whatever you have to do to find the answers you need, but find the right doctor. Find a neurosurgeon if you've got lower back problems. Don't let a what's the other ones? I can't think of it, but get a neurosurgeon to work on it, and one that knows what they're doing. Check their credentials, and you'll be fine. I mean, you're going to live with some back pain from now. Now, if I can swing a golf club over 100 miles an hour, I can walk 18 holes. I can probably walk more than that. I can work all day. I don't feel like I did when I was 18, but I feel a lot better than I did before I had the surgery. And so, there for about, I don't know, 6 months, people would approach me about it. Hey, man, do you regret doing that? And I never once. There was one time when I might have said, yeah, I might regret it a little bit, because I had episode with some spasms in my back, and that was kind of bad, but it went away. I called my doctor. I said, what's going on? He said, you're having back spasms. You need to go to the ER. So I did. And I said, I shouldn't have let you work on my back. And he said, I've heard that before. Don't worry. But that's not the case. You can live a normal life outside of the horror stories you've been told. And I feel sorry for those people. But I'm not one of those people. I'm not, I'm fortunate, I guess. But it is possible to have your back fixed, and you're not going to feel the way you did before you injured it. But you're going to be able to manage it. And it's not, you have to be mentally strong, and you have to be, anybody that has dealt with back pain knows exactly what I'm talking about. Chronic back pain that doesn't go away is something that's hard to explain to someone that hasn't been through it. You get angry easily. It's not a good thing to have happen. So now, if you made it this far in the video without having back problems, I don't know why. But if you have a perfectly healthy back and you're still watching this video, I want to re-utter the words that my dad told me when I was 20 years old. He looked at me and said, son, you're going to hurt your back. Stop putting 280-pound bags of cement on your shoulders. Stop doing that. You're going to hurt your back. I wished I would have listened to him. So I'm going to be the guy telling y'all, if you got a healthy back, it's not, listen, to squat 400 pounds, what do you gain from that? You can squat 400 pounds. I can tell y'all, I can squat 400. I used to could. So, I mean, it's what do you gain from that? You don't gain anything from it. It's not, it's foolish. It's not, there's no need in lifting heavy weights if you're not a power lifter. And I doubt there are any power lifters watching this, but you don't need to do that. I mean, to be in decent shape, and it's not necessary. It's not worth the risk of hurting your back. I'm telling y'all, it's that first year. It's not the recovery process of having to have your back fixed. It's life altering. It's going to change your life in many ways, but you can get past it. I mean, it's temporary. This too shall pass. But I hope we can make some good content on this channel. Like I said, we're not going to talk about that no more. Y'all might hear me mention my back sore. Now, that'll happen. I'll overdo it every once in a while, but it's muscle pain. It's not disc pain. It's just wearing those muscles in my lower back out from overdoing it. But I know what I'm getting myself into before I do it. So hopefully we can be tying some jigs, hitting some golf balls, doing some stuff like that on this channel, except for talking about back pain. Oof. But yeah, y'all, I need subscribers and all that good stuff. So hit the little subscribe button and the like button. I appreciate it. Thank y'all for hanging out with me.